Buckle up, this is gonna be a wild ride because Marjorie Greene posted another one of her massive manifestos on Twitter, and it has to do with Donald Trump's new AI bill that he just signed. And spoiler alert, we're gonna bring it up right here. It, it's good. Like, I was reading it and I was like, okay, she has many concerns about the AI executive order. Okay, then she says, I understand the promised benefits of AI, but I remain committed to protecting state rights, human jobs, human lives, human rights, our environment, and critical water supply. That is a paragraph in a Marjorie Greene message on social media that somebody wrote at the very least. The vocabulary is too good for me to be 100% sure it was her, but I thought, okay, that sounds good, but it's gonna go into some territory that's like, oh, she's gonna talk about DEI or something. And I just kept reading and I didn't actually find that. She talks about the fact that the bill cracks down on states regulating AI for like 10 years in a time when, if there's ever gonna be meaningful regulation of AI, it has to happen in that time. And who is Donald Trump to tell the states that they don't get to say what happens inside of their own borders on AI? So she's right on that. She talks about rushed AI expansion of data centers that's gonna have massive impacts on both electricity, the environment, and water supply. And she's right about that. She talks about how it's gonna draw water away from other things that need it, like literally millions of gallons per day. And she's right that it's gonna lead to water wars, but not literal water wars, but conflict between the states over access to this water. We're already seeing that in some areas. The data centers are only gonna make it worse. And she's pointing that out. She even mentions PFAS chemicals, which again, yes, that is a concern. And she talks about the fact that a lot of these areas are going to be rushing to the bottom to attract these data centers and sort of economically screwing themselves over in that area. And so she said, this needs a careful and wise approach. The AI executive order takes the opposite. And she's right, like, I'm sure she's gonna come out with some addendum to this that's gonna make it absolutely the worst, and I'm ready for that when it comes. But yeah, I do think that the turn that the administration and the Republican Party more broadly, because in addition to this executive order, as I said, there are components of the big bill that touch on AI. They have really just decided, hands off. And who can be surprised by this? All of the companies, all the billionaires who own the companies that are working on these massive AI models, they're building these huge data centers, including Mark Zuckerberg, who wants to build one the size of Manhattan. They're all massive donors to Donald Trump and the Republican Party. And they're getting back from the administration what they bought the administration for. And so I like the consistency here from Marjorie Greene, although she remains terrible on literally everything else. So Brett, what do you think?
There's a lot there. I think you'll get Marjorie Taylor Greene more on your side when you tell her that what PFAS chemicals trigger medically is called a spontaneous abortion. That is the proven side effect of PFAS chemical. I think that what's sad about this is Donald Trump's EPA is basically taking away its own ability to enforce a lot of that, period. That was yesterday, literally yesterday's news, that they were they were saying like, oh, greenhouse gases don't hurt anyone, so we're not gonna do anything about greenhouse gases. Like, that's it. I encourage this kind of behavior because here's what happens. People in America are used and accustomed to politicians lying to them. And they lie to the American people and have in the same way for decades and decades. The hand goes from this to this. They look at you. When you ask them a question, they go give you some kind of canned answer they think is perfect because it doesn't actually lie to you, but it omits the truth and focuses on something else, which is just a rhetorical move in a conversation you don't want to be in. And they think because Donald Trump doesn't lie to them that way, that he's not actually lying to them in any significant, important way. They know he lies, but they don't think he's lying to them in any specific, important way. But he's just lying to them differently. And so when they show up, they're like, well, I'm glad you lied. I'm glad you said all these things. I wanted to hear them. It's very refreshing to hear the things I want to hear in a completely different way than a politician's ever spoken. But the fact is, he's just lying. He's just lying in a different way you're not used to. And watching Marjorie Taylor Greene and others come to terms with that is absolutely fascinating. And it results in these really long tweets from people who lack wit, of which brevity is the soul.
That is true and indisputable at this point.